Welcome to the Shit I'm 30 podcast. This is the weekly show where we discuss and share our unfiltered opinions on topics such as mental health, relationships, sometimes it gets a little kinky, and we talk about sex, parenting, and so much more. With me, your host, Carla Ramirez. Now, my goal is to get rid of society's expectations about where we should be when we're in our 30s and just free ourselves to live the lives that we've always dreamed of. Now, friends, remember, it is never too late. All right, so we'll start all over because this is a tech episode and we're dealing with tech. But I feel like sometimes the whole tech situation makes us learn things. So even with this, whatever we're dealing with right now, I'm like, oh, I'm learning something new for next time. So anyways, welcome back to another episode of Shit I'm 30 with me, your host, Carla Ramirez. And this week is my second time introducing him. You won't hear the first one, but it's my friend and your friend and everybody's friend, 1/3 of the friend zone, Mr. Assante.
That's right, Carla. Thank you for having me. For those of you listening, I am Assante. As she said, 1/3 of the friend zone podcast. You might have seen me on the read. You might have heard me doing crazy things anywhere on the internet. I am your homeboy. Help him out. Carla, how you feeling during this pandemic? You like my little sunny weather, my newscaster voice?
You're hanging out at the beach. You're giving me the Price is Right vibes. I love it.
That's right. I'm trying to get people ready for when I bring back If I Were a Rapper.
Yes, I cannot wait. So you guys might have seen me post about it last summer. I was on an episode of If I Were a Rapper talking about shit that I don't know anything about because it was music. So I'm like, oh, that song I know. I can talk about that one, but that was about it. Unless we were talking about some mess in the music industry. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I sure was on there with him. But
I loved it.
You're
love
also
you as a
AKA
guest.
like, I know, I love talking to you. You're just fun to talk to.
You're just fun to be around. So it's mutual.
It works. Aren't you called Mr. Music Man?
I am. I love to listen to music and talk shit about what I love about music and what I hate about music.
I know. It just baffles me how I'm friends with so many people that love music and I know none. I know I aggravate the shit out of them. But it works in both ways because y'all like music. I like other shit, so I put people on.
That's
and y'all
right.
put me on.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Good trade-offs.
Yes, yes. So we're gonna get started with the show, and our first segment is shit you should know. And I know we're gonna be talking about some tech with you because I know you're like the music guy and the tech guy, and we're going through a lot of tech stuff in this pandemic and how the world is changing. But I wanted to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and Filthy Rich on Netflix. So do you know who Jeffrey Epstein is?
No, who is he?
Okay, so do you remember sometime last year there was this filthy rich white man that went to jail basically for kind of like sex trafficking and using younger girls, and he ended up dying, quote unquote, in jail. And it was a big thing because they were talking about like all these very powerful, influential people that were around him, men, and they didn't want that to get out.
Wait a minute, so he didn't die? I just need to get to that part.
So, okay. So basically, I didn't know a lot of the background, but there's this man called Jeffrey Epstein. He was basically in the finance world. And the way that it's explained, no one really knew where he made his money. He was a bajillionaire, had so much money. He had houses in Paris, New York, Miami. He was everywhere. He was on Wall Street. He was everywhere with all the presidents, with every powerful man that you can think of. And no one knew what he really did. He was just in the knowns of everyone.
See, I love the fact, I'm sorry, just to interrupt you really quick. I love the fact that when you white, you can do that. But when you black and you be like, I'm a businessman, it's automatically drug related. Like
Automatically. Well, for white and this white man, it ended up being sex trafficking and that of younger women, younger girls. So I knew that something was going on, and we all knew he had been charged with soliciting prostitution. Back in the early 2000s or in the 90s. But he pleaded guilty in 2008 by a Florida court and for underage and prostitution. So he ended up going to jail. But while he went to jail, basically the ending of the case, I'll tell you what it was, because that's what whoever was watching it recently knew about. It was he went to jail and then died. They were about to get him before he was like convicted and he was going to get all this trial. He dies in jail. And no one knows if he killed himself, if someone killed him. Like they said that it was suicide, but it was before anything was ever able to be said from his mouth about who he was conspiring with. But he was sex trafficking and raping young girls, like underprivileged. Is that the word? Like girls with no parents and money and needed someone to love them.
I don't understand why people, I just can't understand how people being able to devise shit like that where you're like, literally taking liberties of other people and monopolizing that. Like, it's crazy to me to even wrap my head around shit like that. So initially I was interested in how
sick.
he died, but now I'm just kind of like, fuck you.
It's a 4-part series, but what is so crazy about it, so his net worth was $577 million when he died. Disgusting. But what's interesting is how he manipulated literally every government, every police department, the FBI, the state attorney, every business. Like, he literally had everybody in his pocket. So I know we know about how powerful money is in this country, but you have to watch it because you're just going to be like, your mouth is going to drop on how upset the FBI was, how upset the police was, how upset the journalists were, and no one could figure out how the fuck he was getting away with everything, even when all the evidence was out there.
No, I'm definitely going to watch. That's right up my alley because I just watched like about a week ago, How to Fix a Drug Scandal. Did you watch that?
No, is it on Netflix too?
Oh, girl, yes. It's like what you're talking about sounds like it's probably like in the same vein of like when they dropped a bunch of their documentaries, I guess. But How to Fix a Drug Scandal is really, really dope. It's about these two women in Boston. Well, one is in Boston and one's on the other side. I think it's like a suburb. I forget what the name of it is. But basically, they were both convicted for, well, one of them got immunity and all sorts of shit. I'm going to just give the whole thing away. But one of them was literally using the damn drugs like a functioning... functioning addict
crackhead?
While going to work. Yeah, crackhead, because she was doing literally all the shit that they were supposed to be testing the drugs with. But she was doing it so meticulously that she was addicted so much that she was caring for the drugs at work. Like, she was making sure she wasn't raising any eyebrows. She was trying to turn coke into crack so she could use more, like, long over term. It was crazy. Then there was the other bitch that was, I think, right in Boston. This bitch thought she was like one of the boys with the cops. They have emails from her where she was pretty much fixing cases, and her way of testing drugs, because they were wondering like, damn, this bitch is testing a lot of drugs. Like, you know, she was becoming popular for being able to do a lot of cases at once. This bitch was just looking at shit and saying, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. She wasn't even like actually labbing the shit. She was just like, looks like coke. Yeah, it's coke. And then you go look at her emails where cops and DAs and shit are talking about like, oh, we need this case to go away, or this is a very bad person. And then she's like, I'll handle it. I love the work we do. It's like, no, bitch, you're not doing the job you're supposed to be doing, which is testing the damn drugs, because you dapping up niggas trying to just get in their pocket. Corrupt.
There's so much corruption, yo. We don't realize how much corruption is in our fucking government and in our like justice system. It's really bad, which like brings into of course like everything that's going on right now in our society, which I'd rather not even. It's not that I'd rather not speak on, but I have a shit talk on it towards the end of the show, so I'll let you know about it. But I mean, I touched on it and we talk about it, but we know what's going on. We'll leave that for later on.
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
And that's the thing. We know what's going on, right?
We are very aware.
If you're listening to this show waiting for us to talk about it, we know what's going on. So whether we choose to talk about it or not, we know what's going on. Don't take our silence as us being quiet, trying to stay away from something. Some of us, and I'm just speaking for me because I'm glad you just touched on that. Some of us don't know how to eloquently speak on certain things because we become so enraged by what the fuck is going on. We don't want to add to the shit. Some of these people that y'all are begging to speak out, they speak out and then they saying complete bullshit. So let's all become educated, informed, do our best to inform each other, and go from there. Sorry, continue.
I'll go ahead and touch on it real quick because I won't even give it too much light. But I received a few DMs, but there was one specifically because we get DMs and messages like as many of amazing ones that we get. There's always got to be those haters that got something to say because they're fucking bored. So it was like, oh, how dare you? All you post about is the podcast, your man, and this stupid boat, but you're not talking about where we should go donate and what's going on out here. And I looked at the message and I'm like, well, this person is you sound really upset. Never responded to them, but if you're listening, hello. The first thing I noticed was that they didn't listen to my last episode. So you're not an actual fan because in the last episode, I had an entire thing about it. And I actually even put the petition for George Floyd on there. So I had just spoken about it a couple of days ago. Number two, I'm not a social justice warrior. I'm worried about my man and who I have right here and what I can do to make a difference in my place. And who am I to go on a platform where I know I have people watching and listening and I have an influence and give incorrect information.
Right.
You don't come to me for social justice things. That's not who I am. Now, if you would love to go to an Amanda Seales or to, I know a lot of people don't like Sean King, but Sean King or Attorney Crump or whatever CNN, Fox News, Trump, whoever the fuck you want to go to. go to them and know where it's going on. But that's not who I am. That's not what my platform is about. And I'm not going to sit here and miseducate people on what's going on. If you're expecting that from me, you got to go somewhere else, honey.
Right.
Because that's not
I think
me.
that's the bigger issue. Miseducation. Like, a lot of us know and I just know for me, and I think I see this with a lot of, like, with certain people I follow, a lot of us know, like, where we're strong and where we can fold. Cardi B, y'all talk about her being illiterate all the time, but she has always spoken about politics because she's always known about it, no matter how illiterate she is. Right. So you can't take away from her.
Her teachers say it.
Everybody, like, there's just I just can't wrap my head around people being like, oh, well, why won't Cardi B shut the hell up? But then they turn around, they would be like, well, why won't Britney Spears speak up, or whoever the fuck they look into? And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Like, here's somebody that actually is taking politics serious. That's what I say, politicals. So that just goes to show you where the hell I am. Who takes politics seriously. And then you got motherfucking, I don't even want to name any of these celebrities. I just can't believe people have said some of the things they said. So I just want to be left alone. And if you just are looking to me for some sort of guidance of some sort, I can't give it to you because I'm lost my damn self. That's how fucked up the world is. And I just want people to be like,
you the wrong way.
I just want Migos to tweet like, y'all know that I like turning up and I'm popped off a pill right now. There's nothing that I can say that's going to make y'all feel better, but this is some bullshit. Like,
right. I'm here to lighten you up, to talk about being our therapist, talk about our struggles outside of it. Trust me, everyone knows what's going on. We all know it. And the protesters are out there doing what they're doing. We're doing what we're doing. We're entertainers. And we're keeping up our content. So don't look to me to educate you on that, because I will take you the wrong way. And my emotions and my feelings behind it will probably get you fucked up. Right. Honestly, because I'm going to tell you to do some bullshit. Right. Just saying. And I'm not going to be responsible for you going to jail and then you asking me to bail you out. Because I'm not bailing you out.
Okay, but real quick. We're going to do that later. I was about to take you off track real quick. I was about to say, if there was a looting that happened. No, we're going to do that later. We're going to do that later.
Okay, we'll do it later. We're doing that. Because so, might turn around. Okay, so I wanted to have you on because I know that you like tech, and we're dealing with a lot of tech within their podcast, with the workplace. New York is a place that I know you are in, like the heart and center of the storm of coronavirus. So I know that I can't feel what you feel at all, because it's so different for us here in Florida than it is in New York. So when did you find out that you like tech?
You know what? I think I talked about this once on the Friend Zone, but I remember being younger and loving like the Sharper Image magazine. Like, there were like,
oh my God, I love that. Yes.
I loved like reading like East Bay for like sports bullshit. Even though I wasn't even into sports, I just wanted me some jerseys and shit. And then I loved to go to the Sharper Image to look at like what cool, sleek design, futuristic shit that they were going to come out with. Like, I remember when the Razor scooter became popular in that magazine, and looking at that shit in there and being like, what is this even doing here? When they had like that wall mounted 3-disc changer where that shit looked all like minimalistic. And then just watching them come out with like those toy robot dogs and all that shit before it became like a main market thing. But like the Sharper Image was like always my shit.
I that's funny because I actually really did love Sharper Image also. And there was a store, Brookstone.
Oh my God, Brookstone. Yes. And you could go in there and have like the massage chairs and all like the gifts.
Always. Do you have friends that are very techie, or are you like the first one? Are you the tech friend? Honestly,
I think everybody, because none of us really talk about tech the way that I like to talk about tech, but I feel like I'm the only one because I watch a lot of sci-fi stuff too, and all the sci-fi futuristic stuff I watch, there's always like conceptual tech, and y'all know I'm a major pothead. When I get on YouTube, I love watching like concept cars and videos for like how they're going to change things, because when we were younger, and I know even you can speak to this, Myspace and all that shit was the shit because you had to learn code. Like, it wasn't just about making your shit look like certain colors. Like, you wanted to be able to change where you could put pictures, or, you know, your font sparkling. Like, you just wanted to be able to do all this shit. So it's like we had to take these crash courses.
Were you able to do all of that?
Oh, yes. I went from learning HTML to CSS, like all that shit.
So that's funny because I didn't get into tech until the podcast. I didn't know how to plug in a TV. A cable box was a nightmare for me. Like, computer stuff, I just know how to turn on my computer and work within the computer. But the outside of it, like, cables really gave me stress. So when I had to teach myself like becoming an engineer and producing and all that stuff, it was a big deal for me. But I remember back in the day for Myspace, 2005, I had just graduated high school and I went to college. So it was when you had to have that college email to get Facebook.
Yep.
But beforehand, we had MySpace. And I remember my friend, I'm like, I can't figure out MySpace. And I had to have other people do the coding for me to get me. I want this color. Damn, my shit's basic as fuck. Help me out. Do it.
You was one of those that went to like the website to get the generator, so it still had like that at the bottom. Oh,
yes.
I could have hooked your shit up. I was one of those that could take code and remove shit and rearrange shit. I used to make that money off MySpace. Oh, that was a good little flip.
Hey, listen, I believe I paid people. I believe I paid friends like 20, 30, 40 bucks to get my MySpace going. All I knew how to do was choose my top 5 friends or 10 friends, whatever the fuck it was.
Okay, because it went from 4 and then they opened it up to like 8 and then 12 and then odd numbers. And I was like, MySpace, this used to be
Do you
exclusive.
remember how much trouble you would get into with friends if they were in your top friends?
They had to be in the top and they had to be placed accordingly. But luckily,
don't let it be at the bottom of the top.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was one of those people where people actually looked out at one point in time, not the whole time. But people looked out where they were on my top because I would change it like week by week. And it wasn't like a purposely thing.
Bitch, stop.
Really, for me, it was out of laziness. But people later on like made it as popularity contest. But for me, I was like, all right, I'm talking to this person more, so I'm gonna just put them first. And they were like, oh, well, so you don't think I'm cool enough? I'm like, well, we ain't really talking like that. So like, I ain't heard from you in a week. New list.
I haven't talked to you in a week.
Love the shit.
You were extremely friendly. Now I just have whoever on there, like if your feelings got hurt too damn bad, it ain't that serious. I took Facebook more serious during college. But now that we're in this pandemic, right, and we're quarantined for podcasting, we're podcasting virtually. Excuse me. People that are working, they're working virtually. How do you think that this is gonna change and wake people up, to working for tech? Because, like our parents, they don't even want to deal with email. Now, probably for their work, they have to do everything through tech. Like I have heard a lot of podcasts and a lot of people saying, I don't like this shit. I just want to go into the studio, but it's like, it's inevitable. You got to learn it. Yeah. How do you think it's going to shift people's perspective on tech?
So kind of dialing back to what you were saying about cables and cords and stuff. I remember being a child, and I think because my mom was older, like I had to carry my weight and help her out with like whatever the new shit she was, or just building shit anyway. She was like, you got to build that. So like when it came time to learn her VCR, and them cables back then, it wasn't no damn HDMI, no one ass cable. Before it was the red, white, yellow, sometimes the green, blue, and all that other bullshit. So you had to figure out the inputs and the outputs, and it was 6 fucking cables and 10 different channels in the back. Like I remember then just having to learn the patience of like trial and learning and plugging and playing and what works and what doesn't. But I remember people kind of becoming on the cusp because the internet was starting and it was like DSL or dial up until like DSL and then T1, wherever the fuck that went. Now we looking at 5Gs and shit. But I remember like people always wanting to work from home, like that always being like a theme that I remembered. So now it's funny that, well, it's not funny, but now more people are forced to work from home, and then you hear people working from home and they're not loving it. They're like, I want to go back to the office or I want to go back to the studio, but it's because you're being forced to kind of look at how you have to build the shit. So you kind of have to give it a little bit more appreciation. So thank God you can, whenever you like fuck that, you can do remote and have somebody come on your screen and help fix something. But when it comes to putting a unit together, you have to be more hands on. And I think it's going to give people a better look at what they're doing, just even like on a micro scale, and hopefully they'll take that and put that macro. But technology is only going to go up from here anyway, because as much as we're advancing like cars and with the corona, they've been putting those dogs out to have you seen the dogs, like the little tech dogs? They're these like robotic some of them are like these robotic little machine dogs, and they go deliver medicine, but they've been trying to
actually May just sent me a picture yesterday. And it's so funny because I don't know. Yes, it wasn't a dog. It was a robot delivering food. Oh. It looked like a little kid. It's just like, it's a robot, and out there in LA, it delivers food. I said, what the fuck? What the LA shit is this?
Well, see, in Boston, it's funny that we're talking about Boston before. There's always got some shit going on out there. In Boston, they've been having these robotic dogs that go out and they either have been delivering medicine, like I guess basic medicines, or they're able to do some sort of testing. So they can provide you with some cure. They can, like, I guess, read your vitals somehow. But we're basically getting to the point to where, if this pandemic is something where we can't leave our house, we have to figure out ways of like, staying connected without literally leaving. So I'm loving this. I'm not loving the pandemic, but I'm loving this theme of trying to figure out ways of, ways of keeping people indoors, like for mass purposes. Because I think people need to be able to be comfortable at home as well as leaving their house. And if that's something that we can all kind of accomplish, like being comfortable, we can kind of like create new things altogether.
That's funny that you view it that way, as in like, oh, it keeps people at home or whatever, because when you're saying all of this, all I'm thinking is how many people are going to lose their jobs and how replaceable they are by a robot. And I think that it's a huge shift for us as a society. And I think specifically for us in our 30s, we think we're so already in like our mindset, and sometimes we don't want to shift and we don't want to change. We're stuck in our ways. That this is a complete shift for us in our lifestyle. And it's like our jobs are very replaceable by technology right now, by robots. Like we thought Uber Eats was it, like, oh, we'll never lose our job because people need food delivered. And now they have a robot delivering the food.
But honestly, I've watched tech like forever. Like I watched Minority Report, Unstable, Will Robinson. I've watched Minority Report. I've watched iRobot. I've watched all sorts of movies like that. So I've always wondered, like, how do we get to that point to where we do these mass transformations? You know what I'm saying? And not that it has to take a pandemic, but the pandemic shows me kind of this is one of those ways where a big change of some sort comes. And then now the pandemic coupled with everything else going on outside, like these catalysts will basically, when shit gets burned down, how does it get rebuilt? You feel me? So I'm looking at these jobs that have always been
this is how it gets rebuilt. So I'm sure
like some of these jobs have always been in danger.
This is how it gets rebuilt. I'm sure the cavemen. Remember, the cavemen went through something at some point that shifted things. And it's just, there are certain things that happened hundreds of years ago, and I'm sure it's happened multiple times where we see a shift change. And this is the one for our or for this lifespan, I should say, that something changes. And we just like, I don't know. I'm sure our grandparents, my grandma who's 87, I'm sure she saw something way back in the day that shifted things. So now we're seeing just a huge shift, and it happens to be this. But if you're being a creative and an entrepreneur, does technology help you or hurt you?
It helps me. And before I answer that, and you're probably gonna have to ask me again, I have like a really random aside. Do you remember? Okay, so this is you about to literally be like, nigga, you high, but I promise I didn't smoke, I'm just drinking. Do you remember 20 years ago, Y2K?
Yes, the world was gonna end.
Right, so it was 1999, insert Prince reference here. And everybody was kind of counting down to like what the fuck was gonna happen, 1/1/2000. And I remember nothing happening. And I remember wondering to myself, and I didn't know the words for it then, like, so I'm gonna use what I can now. I wondered to myself something along the lines of like, did somebody like secretly save the world? Did we like shift timelines? Like what happened? Because there was this big buildup, and there potentially could have been something, right? But like literally nothing happened. Like not even like a minor reset or like nothing happened. So I just wondered like what the catalyst was or what thread was pulled to kind of change that action. But back to what you asked me. Ask me one more time.
I would say
told you I wasn't gonna.
No, but I like that you brought Y2K, because I do remember that Y2K was one of those like the countdown on New Year's was going on, and I'm expecting for the world to blow up. I'm expecting for there to be like this explosion or something crazy to happen. Then nothing happened. I actually thought, I'm like, did it happen and we don't know? Do we have to walk outside? Will we notice people being different? Am I like, are we okay? That's how I remember it. Okay, so the question was, as a creative and an entrepreneur, does this dog, like this is part of it. It's thundering like crazy outside. I'm guessing that probably Wax is here, and I'm gonna kick his butt. Hold on 1 second. Oh, now the dog wants to be a fucking Wax. I'm recording, and the dog is going crazy.
What up, Wax?
I know.
Actually, don't tell him that. He might come in and interrupt.
Please get him. Get her. Please get her. All right. Shut up! You dumb bitch. Like she gonna do something if somebody walk in here. She ain't gonna do nothing but lick the fucking balls.
I'm telling Peter. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So the original question is, with you being a creative and entrepreneur, does technology help or hurt you? And does it like fuck with you being creative? Like how does it help? How does it work for you?
I've always been like I don't know if it's seasonal, but I've always been like an introvert, extrovert. Like I've always been kind of been able to handle both sides of my like well-being. But being inside has never.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was younger, it affected me more because my mom was always like, "You need to stay inside." So I was like, "No, I got to get the hell out." And I used to rip around the streets. But like,
that's because you're being told what to do and you got to wash dishes and shit.
Right, I thought that's what it was, but like now I'm so used to because I've heard her voice. Like I remember being older and hearing her be like, "You just need to stay home because you got to go to work in the morning." And then I'd be like, "You know what? I should just do that." So now that I'm literally at home, it's like not even a yearning to go outside. I'm just like happy that I can. I'm happy to be blessed to be able to work from home and do all this stuff. But I look at like my tech as a plus because, like you're saying, a lot of these jobs are kind of becoming obsolete. These like regular jobs. So the more that I have to like learn these like little ins and outs, like, you know, making these ends meet as far as tech goes, the more I feel like I'm going to be useful as time continues to move forward. Because I still haven't really learned crypto, but I feel like I kind of maybe passively ran through crypto like years ago and I like missed something. So like I just like looking at these pieces as they pass by.
The fuck is crypto?
Cryptocurrency, you know, Bitcoin and
Oh, Bitcoin and shit. Yeah, I put $200 in there and now it's worth like $13.
Yeah, I did that, but my money that is now worth $200 initially was $75, and it had gone up at some point to like $300-$400, and I pulled some of that out. So like I'm doing really good just by that $75 I started off with, even though it's down right now. It had gone up, but stuff like that. It's weird because
I didn't do Bitcoin. I did the other one. I did Litecoin.
I got a piece of a few of them, but it's weird because before they were given all these names in this big index, I remember kind of websites like torrent websites saying something about mining in the past. And had I done that, I probably would have had Bitcoin that I wouldn't even have to have put money in on. So I just look at these little pieces as they come, and I just pray that I can keep grabbing the ones that are not going to necessarily keep me lucrative, but keep me in tune with what's going on or what's going to move ahead. Because even though crypto is so up and down like that, crypto is going to be important moving forward, because if the banks and shit do crash, like people are going to look at these little digital monies as something. So I just want to keep them on hand as I can.
So do you think that Bitcoin and that stuff is going to work out? I feel like it's such a scam.
I think somewhere down the road there's room for it. It does seem like a scam because it's kind of like, because when you really look at it, anybody can make a name of a coin and like piece it out. Or, you know, it's kind of like when you really, really read into it, it just seems like a scam. But like, look at the guy you were talking about before, that white man that was able to like be in these rooms and like, you know, really capitalize off of sex. You know, sex is a definitely commodity, but like if you're able to find out ways of bartering these pieces of nothing just by giving it a random ass name, there's something to that. I don't really know what it is, but you know, you see how it's kind of affected us to this day with this random ass paper money and these little, you know, gold pieces. Some people,
right? Our currency is not even worth anything of what it used to be worth before. They're printing out so much money, so that it isn't even like our dollar, the U.S. dollar, one day might not even be worth anything. You know, so
at all.
Gold, they're trying to find land. Sometimes is not worth shit. Like you might buy a house and the market crashes and it's not worth a damn thing. So.
I hate the fact that that man was being despicable and trafficking people, because when it comes to sex, like people, like that's a commodity. That's a very strong commodity. Like people be weak for moments, and you know, sex can pay your bills. Sex can, you know, change your position in careers. And I've never knocked anybody for using that as a weapon, but I don't want to say sex is the future because that's crazy to say, but people have been able to keep up what they're going just by using whatever skills that they have. So as much as we're putting these machines in place for things, there's always going to be some, even if it's like a minute level, there's always going to be some level of like humanity needed in anything.
And I feel so too. Like, I feel like we're trying to get rid of all this human touch and human, but we always need that part of it. Do you think like corporations have like a social responsibility to community? So like Facebook and Google, do they owe us something?
I feel like a lot of those places, I don't feel like they owe us anything, but I feel like some of those people that work for those places, they come in mind with, you know, how they want to help the greater good. And then there's met with that team with how do we capitalize off of this? And sometimes that team that wants to capitalize doesn't realize that it's not in the greater good to make too many fucking robots, because it's going to fuck shit up. When you say companies like Google, my main thing, the first thing that sticks out to me is the GPS. Yes. GPS, super important, great device. But honestly, that shit has made people so fucking lazy. Like, I hate that shit. Like,
I don't know how to get anywhere without it, okay? And I still get lost with GPS, but if without it,
and that's the problem that I have. If it was always, like, if it became like a thing where it was 100% foolproof, I would get it. But because there was that part of the team that wanted to capitalize, that's why I know the GPS, it works and it's correct, but it's not always setting you on the fastest route. Sometimes that shit is hurting you out because of the way that, you know, traffic lights are set up or whatever the fuck. And not that it's even actively being done. It might just be an algorithm. But I look at shit like that and I'm like, human, you're so lazy. This GPS is telling you where to go because it's just on autopilot. Like when I have to GPS where to get and it tells me what trains to take, sometimes I know if I jump to express or one local or some shit, that's going to get me there 10 minutes faster than whatever the GPS spit out. But because people are so reliant on it, people don't go out and do their research after that and say, okay, well, this is what they think is going to be 35 minutes. But this actually, if I, you know, really needed to get there, can be 25 minutes and it's still safer or residential or whatever the fuck. But GPS.
How about relying on Google period to get answers? Sometimes we don't even talk to each other. It's like you say something and I'm like, I don't know if that's right. And I'm like, well, I'm going to Google it. And instead of having a conversation with someone and trying to see what everybody else knows, we just go straight to Google and we don't have conversations anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fucking with that. Like, not that we're not having conversations anymore because we're really not, because a lot of the time, because I'm terrible sometimes. Sometimes people ask me something, I'm like, nigga, just Google it. Like, and that's because I don't fucking know, but I like the practice of people just going straight to fucking Google. And I like that because you need to familiarize yourself with that shit because it's a great resource, but you also need to know that everything that come on there ain't the truth. So if you ask to run to Google, you need to, you know, be able to sift out like, you know, okay, this is a New York Times post versus this is a Louisiana Buck Star post, whatever the fuck, you know, magazine that is. But I like the fact that people go to get the information themselves. But then, you know, if we share the information, there has to be some sort of way of us being like, did you know X, Y, and Z? But it's kind of hard to do that because a lot of us don't know. Like, we look at Twitter, we get on there, and it's just pop culture. We don't think to ourselves, like, let me just post what I learned here today.
Or somebody will make up a fucking lie about the news, and we think it's real, which is bullshit. But I do have 2 more questions. I want to go into tech. So they're really quick. One is, what is one of your favorite things that have popped up basically virtually? Not necessarily during the pandemic, but like virtual. Like my favorite one, I'll say for sure, is online therapy, like BetterHelp. So it's like being able to do that virtually instead of me having to drive or do whatever. So what is one thing that you would say that you really like that is virtual right now?
I love the fact that we're having more conversations now about online dating. Because it's a pandemic, it's terrible that, you know, I mean, because it's a pandemic, you know, you don't want to encourage people to go outside. But because of a pandemic and people can't go outside, people still want to be able to connect somehow. And I feel like there had always been some sort of like shameful stigmas around online dating. So I'm glad that we're able to have more conversations about it. And not that it's even for everybody, but people are more open to trying it or putting more effort into it if they are doing it. Or just saying, fuck that altogether. Let me get the fuck off here because I've done so much of it. And let me just get back to me. Like, you know, whatever the buy-in is.
I think that probably online dating is so much better now because since you can't just be quick to say, oh, tomorrow let's hook up. You have to kind of get to know that person. So there's probably a lot more conversationing happening. Yeah. So now I was like, you're really going to work for this pussy. And I want to know what it is. I know a girl that was online dating and they had a dinner date. So he basically like Uber Eated her, whatever it's called, delivered her some food. And they had a Zoom dinner with food that he delivered to her. And I'm like, oh, that is so cute.
Yep. It's cute until you see someone's true colors and they're like, the restaurant ain't sent me this. I'm about to call. No, I'm just playing.
And then now you know, like, fuck this bitch. She's not for me.
Yep.
But at least you're able to see that before you have sex with them or before you like accidentally get them pregnant on the first date, you know? Like, whoa, now you have more time to get to know who it is that you're talking to. So I actually like the whole online dating thing because although I don't need it, I know a lot of people that do. And I know a lot of people that get burned by it because it's so quick to the turnaround. But if you have to actually invest time in talking to them, it probably works a lot better.
There used to be a series on YouTube called Hello Cupid. And it was so cute because it was just about these girls. It was basically about colorism and online dating and all that. But I just love the fact that these girls were like having these like conversations online with these profiles, and they were kind of like going through how it could be a cool process. Like it didn't always have to be like weirdos on here. Like it was just, you know, people trying to meet people, being sexy about it, and it was cool. And I just want to get back to that. I like that narrative.
Have you been online dating?
Oh no. I was online businessing on online dating sites, but I ain't doing that no more.
Online businessing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, businessman, okay? Businessman.
A businessman, got you. So if you can invent one thing that would improve the world right now, one tech thing, what would it be?
Oh.
What do we need improving on?
Damn. This is so hard. This is a really good question. If I could build one thing to improve the world, I don't want to steal nothing. That's what I'm trying to like think like uniquely. Cause I've been watching all these like sci-fi movies, but I really want to. I would love to be able to build something that could help. Damn, no, that's been done. Shit, I'm thinking about all these like shows I've watched, like Black Mirror shit.
Well, tell me, maybe I don't know. Tell me, give me one that stood out to you.
No, like, well, the first one I was gonna say is I like the one where, like on Black Mirror, there was this mirror, and it had nothing to do with the show being called Black Mirror. But you know, they have the mirror where you can like check your stats and vitals and stuff. I was gonna say I would love to build some sort of, I would love to build some sort of mirror that could kind of see your history. Like it could see your vitals, like, but it could see like your lineage. Like, you know, you put your DNA on it or whatever. It could tell you what part of what you are. It could tell if you've experienced some sort of traumas, like we sense trauma and, you know, body tissue from, and I don't even know if this thing is possible to make, but it would just be dope for people to kind of look and say, because people just need a peace of mind to know that they're okay or that they're normal or whatever. And then they can kind of work towards fixing whatever else the problem is. So if you kind of see your stats that meant whatever to you on a mirror, I think that would help people.
That I'm sure it could be done somehow. I don't know if it would be through a mirror, but I know my grandma just called me last week saying she was going to the doctor's office for the first time in 20 plus years. And I was like, you old hag, I've been told your ass to go to the doctor. And she don't want to. She's like, I'm fine. I drink my green juice, but 20 years without going to a doctor. So I feel like people take that long, and God forbid, I hope she is perfectly fine. I'll talk to her. She sounds fine. It's like they don't go to the doctor for that long and they're just fine. And they go to a doctor, something's wrong with them. And then it just like speeds up the process of like everything like bad. And I'm just like, maybe you shouldn't go. Like you're 87. Why don't you just stay home? Like you're fine. I think you've been doing just fine for the past 87 years.
Keys.
Don't go.
She got the secret already.
But it would have been cool if you don't have to go to a doctor's office and you just every morning when you wake up, you're like, oh, you need to maybe take a couple more vitamins of vitamin D, or this tissue is like deteriorating. Maybe you need to take care of it right now instead of waiting until like a stage 4 cancer or something.
I hate when I know that a lot of the stuff has to deal with like big pharma, which is something I don't like necessarily care about. So it would just be cool if there was something that can be streamlined for people to just even look at. Just I want them to just be able to see information and be able to make it mean something to them. So if the mirror senses anything wrong with you and it's like, you know, your BMI has changed, so I want to implore you to work out a little bit more. I don't want that shit to be spitting out pills, because you see a lot of that in them futuristic movies. They're like, we've noticed that your vitals are off. Here are a couple of mood enhancers. It's like, no, bitch. Why don't you just tell me which apple or orange to eat that's going to help this instead?
Yes. I think we need to get definitely. I feel like everybody's gardening now too. I'm gardening. I've killed a few plants outside. Now my inside ones are good. Yes. Wax is made me this huge bed, and I love the plants inside the house. Outside, I'm trying to get used to it. There's a lot of dirt and bugs, and he wants me to like get these seeds into plants, and I've already killed seeds. There's like new sprouts, so now I'm gonna go and get whatever. The point is,
y'all are so grown and sexy. I love it.
He's building the fence in the backyard. He made me a huge bed. Like he's doing all this stuff. But he's like, I have to garden. He's like, I'll make you the garden bed, but you have to garden. And I'm like, okay, fine. Let me go get seedlings. So let me get them while they're already like grown up, like 3-4 inches, and then plant them and then get them from there. I don't want to do the seed shit. I decided I'm not doing that. And I need one of those little rolly cart things so I don't have to be on my, like bending down on my knees the whole time, because my back is hurting after one day of gardening. I was like, I'm not going back. You got one day out of me and that's it. He is so mad, but he'll get over it. But anyway, we're going to go into unsolicited advice. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break. Okay, friends, we're talking about tech, and there's nothing better than being able to see your therapist on demand. I have been needing my therapist lately more than ever. Wax and I think quarantine got to us, and for about 5 days, we were just on each other's neck, and I didn't know what was going on. I felt so overwhelmed, and I called my therapist real quick, and I was like, Miss Lady, I need you right now. Come on, like, help me. So I want you guys to try BetterHelp. Is actually where I go. BetterHelp assesses your needs and matches you with your own licensed professional therapist right away. And you start talking within 24 hours. You don't have to wait for them to have an availability in 3 weeks. And by that time, you've lost your fucking mind. The services is available for everybody, for you, for me, for everybody worldwide. So it doesn't matter where you are. And you can log into your account at any time and just message your counselor and be like, hey girl, I need you. Help me out. I'm going through something. So 24 hours a day, you can go through it. Now, BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change your counselor if needed. So if that counselor, you don't like it, okay, on to the next. Because finding a therapist is just like finding a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. So I want you to visit trybetterhelp.com/30. That's trybetter, HELP, and join over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. For those of you with Shit I'm 30 that have been rocking with me forever and know and have experienced my journey with my mental health and taking charge of it, you get 10% off your first month at trybetterhelp.com/30. Try it out. If you want to message me and tell me that you tried it and how it went, I would love to hear your experience, but you don't have to tell me. Just go to the description of the show, trybetterhelp.com/30. Get the help that you need because no one else is coming to save us. You have to save yourself. Now, let's go back to talking with Assante. All right, now that we're back, thank you to Assante, first of all, for giving us all that tech stuff. I feel like it's one of those things that we don't talk about, but it's where our world is turning into. So now on to unsolicited advice, where at times we give advice to people that ask for it, and other times people that they didn't really ask us, but we're going to give them the advice anyway because that's what we do. So this one, it comes from, don't worry about that. And it says, my partner told me he was bisexual.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at your face. You're like, all right, let's tackle this one. Does he want somebody to play with?
Chicks and pricks.
So it says, my partner and I of 5+ years started to feel like we were sexually not syncing up well over the last year or so. Initially, I thought he was losing his sexual interest in me and he was starting to become more of a partner than a lover. When I confronted him about it, he confided in me and told me for the last 2 years, he's been trying to come to terms with the idea that he's bisexual. Mm-hmm. He reassured me it was the stress of not talking about it, along with some other things in our relationship that was holding him back. As time passed, we finally spoke about what his desires were. We spoke about opening our relationship up a bit for several reasons. He's never had any male experiences, so I wanted him to be able to go out and experience that part of his sexuality. I think it would be good to let him have that experience, but when I say I want to go on a break during this time, he gets upset. He is adamant about not wanting to lose our relationship and would rather do nothing about his newly found bisexuality if it means breaking up. I don't know what to do. Should we break up or should we stay together? Holy shit. Oh.
I'm loving everything about the scenario. This is right up my alley, honestly.
Take it. Please take it, because I'm like, what do you mean? I feel like you're holding him back from something, but that he wants to hold himself back, and it's whoa.
He is okay. He needs to know that you're gonna be there for him. Like, he wants to do it, but he also knows that he has a really good thing. So this is like a good bad problem. It's really gonna be about, what you want to do. The person that wrote in. Like, do you want to stick around while this person experiments? But I get scared here because I've dated couples and there's always like this. It's literally.
You've dated couples. Okay. Let me drink my wine.
Damn, here we go. I feel like I've talked about this and this is going to seem like a hot selling point, and it's really not. I'm not advertising. I don't care about this no more. But I dated couples, and a lot of it was within the mindset of I love the chemistry between men and women that love each other. And I also love the chemistry of like a man being able to finally free himself and a woman giving him that power, which shows her power. Like, I love that whole like dynamic, but it's tricky water because sometimes in that dynamic, like as much as the man wants to be comfortable, he's still going to lie to himself about his support, which may be this woman. So I love her and I'm glad that she's giving him this window to be bisexual. I just want her to mean it and him to mean it when they both like go on this journey, if they go on this journey. And I think that's the fear that he has. Like, he doesn't want to experience it and it gets weird and she breaks up with his ass anyway. He doesn't want to experience it and then he loves it too much and he wants to break up with her ass and, you know, then he don't know how to do that. Like, there's just so many layers and levels to this shit. So I just say, if you're going to do any of this, just keep an open mind and be ready for anything. If you know, ready to work with him on some shit that he might not be able to come full circle with you initially, then go for it. But if not, you know, break up with that ass and live your best life. It can go either way. It's always a on the fence thing. You just have to weigh your own options because I never have enough information because we only got that one side.
He's definitely scared of maybe that she's like me. I would have never been able to be like, all right, we'll go explore. And not so much just because it's a bisexual thing. I'm a jealous ass bitch.
Right.
And I'm not open-minded about bisexuality with my man. Like, I can't. I can't. It's just not for me. I don't want to date a bisexual man, you know? But I think that it's a choice that I can make, you know? And sometimes I feel like I'm shamed for it, but I'm like, it's okay. Like, there's someone out there for everybody.
Right.
Very much so.
I don't think you should be shamed for it because there's even men that feel like they don't know how to, like, on both sides, like, people don't know how to compete with whatever it is that this person likes about both, so they don't know like which side will keep them like the winning whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I've met so many women that don't mind if their guy tries both because they have had both and that there's no, it's just like a passing.
Right.
And some of that's because some of my homegirls just, they ain't shit. So like, they just been like, oh, you know, I did what I had to do, but at the end of the day, this is what I want. So I know my shit is good and I'm secure.
I didn't think of that.
What?
I didn't think of that. So I've never been with a woman and I've never had the desire to be with a woman. I've never, like, nothing at all. Like, I am a gold star hetero.
Yeah.
So
strictly dickly.
Strictly dickly, baby. So maybe that's why I don't see it in the other way. I'm like, if I can be strictly this, then I can find someone who's strictly me or strict, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and you never had no girl that you kind of was like, ooh, or like, you never watched porn even and was kind of looking at the girl a little bit too much, or because honestly, I don't know straight porn, so I don't know what y'all looking for when y'all looking. Whereas I'm
the worst person to ask about porn, and I say this all the time because I only need about a good 60 seconds to 2 minutes of porn. I don't give a fuck about the storyline. I fast forward to the pounding. Let me see it get pounded. It's usually from the back, and 60 seconds and I'm done.
Okay,
and I'm like, goodbye.
Can we get like a little too personal then? Or not?
Go ahead.
Okay, so when it comes to watching the pounding, is it the pounding that's getting you off? Like watching the girl, like, cause, and you don't have to answer any of these, but that's just my thought process sometimes. Cause there have been people I've talked to about like porn or like I'd watch porn with and I'm like wondering what they're looking at. Like what's the part that's like getting them to where they're going? And that sometimes affects whether there can be a little bit of fluid on their sexuality or not. Cause some people just like to imagine the sensation that's happening, but some people are looking at who's giving the sensation to who or what. So I think about that too.
Usually when I'm watching it, there's no faces. I just like to hear. So I have to hear the man moaning. If it's a quiet guy, I'm done. I want to hear him like moaning, saying that he likes it or telling her what to do. And for her to moan as well. But I usually don't even know what the girl looks like. It's more like I'm watching and I'm like, oh, I know what it would feel like to me.
Right.
So I'm imagining that it's me maybe. But yeah, the person itself doesn't really matter. I could watch a hairy vagina or a shaved one, or the dick has to be black. Sure.
And then past that, it's just mostly about the sensations and like you hearing the girl getting what you would like to get. It don't matter what she look like or whatever. Okay.
No, I don't mind what she looks like.
Because some people, like especially for men, I be kind of wondering, like if I'm talking to like my straight friends or straight flexibles, like when they're talking about like, yeah, you know, when the dude getting in and he like loving that shit, I'd be like, I want to love that shit like that. And I'd be like, or are you wishing you could love it? Like, you know, that's what I be wondering and thinking about when I'm looking at porn. And low key, because we're in the pandemic, I should think about taking like a sexual studies class or something, because I would just love to be able to kind of analyze people a little bit based on what they watch, if that's even a thing.
You should. That's actually interesting. I took a sexual behavior class when I was doing psychology back in the day, like way back in the day. And like, it's crazy what you learn in those sexual behavior classes, like how people perceive sexual things. Like, the spectrum of sexuality it's crazy. It's insane. And I'm so not necessarily vanilla anymore. I'm a little freaky. You know, I have something to tell my patrons later on about something I tried out the other day.
Yes.
So I'm definitely like butter pecan now, for sure.
Yeah.
But but still, to me, like I don't explore like too far from it. But going back to her, you know, shout out to her for being that open, and he found the right one. I mean, there was definitely something in her that was compatible, because she's definitely open to it. But if she does not want to be in a relationship with him during that time, you don't have to do it just because he wants to. If you don't feel comfortable and you're like, yo, we got to take the break, then you got to take that break. And if he chooses not to, that is his choice. But be very aware of the fact that he could be very not miserable, but just unhappy with the fact that he's not able to touch that, or like later on. So it could affect y'all's relationship in the future if he doesn't get to try that shit out, because it's been in his mind and it's already affecting y'all's relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Gotta let him have a little outlet, you know what I'm saying? And don't surprise nobody with that. Because, you know, sometimes somebody might be like, well, I changed my mind. Let me surprise them with this. And if they're not ready for it, you might fuck up their whole world a little bit with it. Do
you remember Love is Blind, or whatever the fuck the Netflix show was with the man?
Yes, which bisexual. Prepared us for today. Shout out to Carlton. Shout out to Carlton. You know, that's the homie. Shout out to Carlton.
Wait, you know him?
Yeah.
You do, really?
I know Carlton. Yeah, he's the homie.
So why did he wait?
I don't know. Shit. Everybody's process is different. Like, that's why watching it back, and I haven't even spoken on this publicly a lot, but like watching it back and people wondered why he waited, I could see his point of view, like, to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, for some people, because it's not a big deal, they'll try to say it up front, be like, oh, you know, just let you know this has been what's up. And I guess that's what they wanted him to do. But, you know, it seemed almost like the school of, like, this isn't a big deal to me, but I know it's a big deal for other people. So, like, let me tell you, because we got here, you know what I'm saying? And the emotions got kind of read wrong because he was flared up thinking about, like, I'm about to go into this shit. Because even from Diamond, I'm going to give it to her. I feel like she was very nurturing in that moment. And she didn't even get to express how upset she was. So I'm not taking nothing away from her. Right. But yeah, Love is Blind was...
Do you think the show made him hold it back?
I'm not sure. Because I feel like
I wondered about that. I'm like, I wonder if the show did it for like shock factor afterwards.
Yeah, you know, it probably definitely got edited in there for sure for shock factor, especially. But I don't know if they did that as a thread or if that just ended up being one. Because, you know, people do produce the fuck out of these shows, but I always find it interesting when you watch a show, and I don't hear enough of these stories, so this definitely doesn't have to be the case. But I love when you watch a show and it's being produced and the producers have no idea of or like even the actors or whoever, they have no idea like the turn it's going to take. Like when you watch,
that's the best.
When you watch Real Housewives of Atlanta and Candy didn't know that they were about to turn that season about the Bill Cosby shit into that. She thought that they were going to try to make it about Todd cheating. She didn't know that they was about to make that shit about her raping Portia. Like, it was so insane how that shit ended up being produced on the other end.
It goes left.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, that definitely is crazy. So we're going to go into our last segment, and that is my shit talk. So I kind of talked about it in the beginning, and my shit talk was really towards that guy or girl, definitely fake page, that was upset at me about not talking about the corruption and police brutality or whatever. So while I think of something else, do you have something that has happened recently that you want to talk some shit about?
Hill Harper. Hey, you know what? This might be a three-parter, but Hill Harper said some stupid shit. Did you see that?
No. Who the fuck
they
is
wished
Hill Harper?
He's a author slash actor slash whatever, but he did the letters from a son or letters from a father, letters to my daughter. I don't know. He's an author. He's supposed to be someone, you know, renowned in the Black community. I've seen him around, but I never really
I know him. Okay, yes, I know exactly who he is. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think I watched him on like one of my soap operas when she was younger. I don't remember. But basically he came out recently and was wishing Dwayne and Gabby's child a happy birthday, but instead of saying, you know, their child or young woman, he gonna say wishing their son Zaya a happy birthday, misgendering the damn child. And then
he said happy birthday, young man.
Yeah, and then came out
read letters to a young brother.
And came out hours later apologizing, but it was like are you fucking stupid? Like, do you think we're stupid? And not that he was doing it to be condescending. It could have easily been a Freudian slip. But I just thought that it was such a fucked up time for him to make such a stupid fucking mistake. And for him to be a writer, like somebody that you're supposed to like, I don't know, I guess trust for clarity of some sort to make such a dumb mistake. And this is a two-parter that goes for both sides. I hate him for doing that shit, but I also hate all the people, and I guess now I'm talking about myself. I hate all the people after because when he apologized, I could tell there was intent behind it, but there's so much shit going on. When we curse people out, it needs to be really intentful. So it really needs to be like, motherfucker, I can't believe you did that stupid shit. There's so much going on in the world right now. How could you do this? So when he apologizes and says, I didn't even realize X, Y, and Z, the nigga was just posting yesterday about all the shit going on in the world. So it's like, you have some sort of comprehension about what's happening, and not that you need to check. Like, Gabby and Dwayne are his friends. That's why I'm so like that's what fucks me up the most about
that's
it.
Exactly what the message says. The message says, "Happy birthday, young man. Read letters to a young brother. Your mom wrote something in it. You'll love it. Have a great day." So I think it's crazy because you can tell sometimes these messages just don't need to be on social media. And that's what kills me. Sometimes we want to be seen so bad. So maybe he wanted this message to be seen so bad.
Yeah, he wants to publicly show support for their son because he's been seeing storylines about their son, not the fact that their son is no longer identifies as male. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy that happened.
Tie it back to Tech, and shout out to May. Tech fucked him up on accident.
Yeah.
You have access to all this technology, and then it's like, that fucks up a lot of people. You go on live and say some fucked up things. I think it was like a Miss America, I don't know who the girl was, that said nigga while singing the song, and then she got told off. I think she was drunk. Did you see that one?
No, thank the Lord Jesus, I didn't.
Yeah, some white girl, she was singing, but when I look at it, it's like the girl's singing a song, she's drunk, and we know white people say nigger all the time behind closed doors. Like, it is part of their language. So when she's on live with thousands of people watching, and she said that you see her going like, "Oh my God, did I say it?" Yeah, girl, you said it. Was the intent behind it something malicious? No, they're just so used to singing these songs and saying it no matter what. Mm-hmm. So for that specific one, I was like, does she need to be quote unquote canceled or whatever? I'm like, come on, man. We know these white folks say this behind closed doors all the time. We know this.
I'm so on the fence with cancel culture. Like, I know it's a thing, but for me, I've never made it like canceled. Like, I think I've consciously, because I hate, it's weird for me knowing that I'm like a public figure because people want you to say things or speak up, but I'm also one of those people that I don't want to perpetuate certain things. So like, if it's something that I hate and I think it shouldn't be existing, as much as I want to retweet sometimes and say this is stupid, I don't want to retweet it because I don't want to give it light. And then
I find myself doing that too. I'm fucked up with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so hard to even like, know where to draw the line.
So I don't believe in cancel culture. I just think it's like, they fucked up. Yeah, okay, cool. But we all can fuck up. It scares me because, like you said, us being out here in the public and making our, like, always showing our opinion, I'm not perfect. One day I'm going to say something fucked up, and it feels like the culture or society won't let me grow from mistakes. They want you to just, once you fucked up, it's over, and it's like, yeah, bitches fuck up every single day. It's just not out there for everybody else to see.
I'm half of a soundbite away from being canceled every day. I feel like that's most of the reason why I don't say shit, because I know I can't eloquently put shit out on Twitter. I've always hated the form of Twitter for being able to explain anything long form, and I'm also not gonna get on and record myself saying some shit for people to take clips of either, because I know I pause too much or I stutter too much or somebody takes what I'm saying wrong any fucking way. But like Doja Cat, I'm not gonna defend that bitch. I don't know what the fuck that bitch got going on. But Tiny Chat, I remember being on Tiny Chat back in the day, and them racist motherfuckers did come up in that bitch, and I'm like, where is the support? Like, why can't it, like, I can't get this nigga removed? Like, what's going on? And there were times where people would just be like, well, I guess I gotta keep going with this racist white person in the room. But for me, I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. Like, we can get a private room with me and my friends, or we can go, because I'm not doing this. So, like, when I see her hanging out in those spaces and saying, like, you know, the shit wasn't moderated, and we did what we had to do, or whatever, like, girl, I could not. Like, and I'm not gonna sit up here and judge her for doing that. When it gets fucked up is when, you know, I find out she's saying certain things against the black community or doing certain things like that. But, you know, when it's kind of like you're caught up in some bullshit and then the internet takes the piece of it and then runs with it and makes that one little piece jokes, it's hard for me to get behind any of that because it's like there's this bigger piece everybody's missing. And everybody
they don't
does
use
it so
the
often.
context in it.
Ever.
They leave the context out of it. So it's just like, we live in a clickbait society. Everything is clickbait. So if it sounds like this, they'll take a quick 10-second soundbite and they forget the beginning and the what came out afterwards, and it had nothing to do with what that clip meant for. You know, if I was just like, oh my God, yeah, because she ate pussy and loved it. So they're only going to take the ate pussy and loved it, but forgot the fact that I was talking about somebody else. And I was like, oh my gosh, she talked about eating pussy. And I'm just like, no, I didn't. Right. So that shit happens all the time. So cancel culture to me is dumb. I feel like people should be able to grow from their mistakes. Once you show me who you are, be who you are, and thank you for showing me. I can choose to not follow you anymore, but that doesn't mean that we're going to cancel you. Like, just make your own decision. Don't make your decision because Twitter and Instagram are telling you to cancel that person. If you feel like you don't want to listen to them, I can say right now, and I know people will probably kill me for this, but when R. Kelly song comes on, unfortunately, there's times that I still bop to it, knowing good and well that he ain't shit.
Because you heard it for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as you want to be able to be like, nah, fuck this nigga, turn this off, and you should be, you know what I'm saying? It's not to say that, you don't have to say...
It's fuck him. Absolutely, fuck him.
It's 100,000% fuck him, but that doesn't mean that when you hear the beat, your body doesn't automatically know, R. Kelly beat, stop, like... Sometimes you don't even know, because I be halfway backwinding about, oh, wait a minute. No, this is that sick nigga. No, it can go.
Sick motherfucker.
But for those people that caught you in that first 5 seconds, oh, you're canceled.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, okay, cool. Because I Believe I Can Fly comes on, and I literally, like, I believe I can fly. Ignition comes on, and I'm like, this is the, you know, like, I'm going to, and then I'm like, damn, why did you have to do this shit? Why did you have to be this kind of person? But the music still rocks, and I was used to it, and I was a huge fan of the man. So cancel culture, not into it. If you choose that for yourself, you want to cancel that person and you don't want to do it, but don't do it because Twitter and Instagram are telling you to do it.
Right. And that's the major key. Like, do it because you are informed enough and you know what the fuck and why the fuck you're doing it, because it always makes me not that you need to be doing it to sell to other people, but it always makes me want to consider or to cancel somebody when someone easily and passively just tells me what the fuck the problem is. Like, when those people want to think piece and give me this long thread on why I shouldn't, I'm not reading that, because you sitting up here making it seem like this person did this to you. And if they did it to you, I'm going to read it. But as I'm reading all these things that you're giving me secondhand accounts about, I don't want to read that from you. Like, that's information I'm supposed to go out and find my damn self somehow. And by you throwing it on me and trying to, like, shove this shit down my throat, I'm throwing this shit back up on you. And now it makes me look stupid because you did something stupid on something good.
Right.
And people don't understand.
When there's something that happens, like, that's big, I try to just read what happened and just shut everything else behind it and see how I feel for a while before I start seeing what the Breakfast Club thinks and what the Shade Room thinks and what Amanda Seales thinks and what everybody else thinks. Let me just take a second and see how I feel about it. And then I'll look at everybody else's feelings and opinions. That way they don't change how I feel and I'm not influenced by their feelings. So that's something that everyone should maybe try to do, and stop trying to get everybody else's opinions and their feelings and making it their own, because you really don't really feel like that. You're just doing it because that got a whole bunch of likes and a whole bunch of retweets. It's so dumb. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to the show. Asante, thank you so much for coming on to Shit I'm Motherfucking Tharte. Now, where can they find you? What do you have going on? Like, is there anything fun that you're doing that, like, I don't know, podcast wise or whatever, projects?
For those of y'all listening that are fucking with me, my name is Assante. You can find me on all social media at Hey Assante. That's HeyAssante. I am 1/3 of the Friend Zone podcast. And after listening to this episode of me here, don't forget to tweet and tell Carla how much you loved hearing me on her podcast. And also don't forget that I just did a podcast along with Orlando and Tahoe. It's called Hard or Soft Podcast. So check me out on there where I'm talking real sex crazy shit, which is insane. As you're checking me out here where I'm talking real tech shit being insane.
Well, bye guys. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast. That's something that definitely helps us out a lot as podcasters. So like he said, the Friend Zone, Shit I'm 30 podcast. Go on Apple Podcasts, take 60 seconds and leave a review, leave a rating, however it is that you feel about the podcast. Leave it on there. And it does help us out a ton. And again, we'll see you guys again next week. Goodbye.